This is Standard 65W2, Level 2, Unit 2, DIY. Our assignment name is Sentence Fragments. Remember to put your name on your paper. Let's look at the very first part. It says, a sentence must have both a subject and a predicate to express a complete thought. A group of words that lacks a subject, a predicate, or both is a sentence fragment, meaning only a fraction or a part of a sentence. A fragment does not express a complete thought and should be avoided in writing. So some examples we have: almost stopped them lacks a subject. If we were to add he as a subject to the beginning, he almost stopped them, then it would be a complete thought. The three explorers lacks a predicate. If we were to add to the end, went on an adventure, then we would have a complete thought. The three explorers went on an adventure. Our third example lacks a subject and a predicate. So if we put he was almost to the top, he is our subject now, and was is our predicate. So now it reads, he was almost to the top. Let's look at exercise 1. It says, draw one line under the complete subject and 2 lines under the complete predicate of each complete sentence. If a sentence is not complete, write F for fragment in the blank. Our example says, of brave explorers. This is not a complete thought, so it's a fragment. Let's do 1 through 3 together. Number 1, it says, history tells tales of brave explorers. One way we can tell if it's a fragment is if we find our verb, and it has one, we can put a line in front of it. Then we can see if it has a subject, which is history, and a predicate, which is tells. And if we have both of those things, we know it's definitely a complete thought. So we're going to leave that line blank. Let's look at number 2. It says Christopher Columbus, and then it has nothing else. Christopher and Columbus are neither verbs, so we do not have a predicate. That means we should put F for fragment on the blank. Now look at 3. It says sailed in 3 ships. Sailed is a verb, so if we put a line right in front of it, we can see that there's no subject in front of our predicate, so it's also a fragment. At this time, I want you to go ahead and do 4 through 16 by yourself. You need to pause the video before moving on to the back part of this assignment. The second part to this DIY is over run-on sentences. Let's look at the very first part. It says, a run-on sentence is 2 or more sentences incorrectly written as one sentence. correct a run-on sentence by writing separate sentences, meaning you have two simple sentences, or maybe even three or more, or by combining the sentences with a semicolon or with comma and, comma or comma but. In other words, you can take a run-on sentence and correct it by making it a compound sentence. Let's look at our example. It says, Bill won the race, the crowd cheered. We have a comma, but we do not have and, or but. We also do not have a semicolon, but we do have two separate sentences. We know we have two separate sentences because if we look at this first part, one is a verb, so we can put our line. We have a subject, we have a predicate. And if we look at the second part, we have cheered as a verb. If we put our line, we have one subject and one predicate. So to be correctly written, they need to be two separate simple sentences, or you need to combine them with and, comma or, comma but, or a semicolon to make it a compound sentence. You can see over here the different ways you can correct it. The first one has made it into two separate simple sentences. The second one has combined the two simple sentences into a compound sentence using a semicolon. The third example has taken the two simple sentences and made it a compound sentence by adding in comma and. Let's look at our exercise 1. It says write R next to each run-on sentence. Our example says, you took a chance, you lost the game. I automatically take a pause in between chance and you because it seems like it should be two sentences. If we were to not look at that second half and just look at the first half, it says you took a chance. Took is a verb, so we could put a line right here. Now we have you as a subject, took as a predicate. If we look at the second half, it says you lost the game. Lost is a verb. If we put a line before a verb, you is a subject, lost is a predicate. So we have two sentences that run together, making it a run-on sentence. So we write R on the blank. Let's look at 1 through 3 together. And then you'll complete the assignment by doing 4 through 15 by yourself. Number 1, it says, architects design buildings. Their buildings can take years to complete. We have a comma. If we look at the stuff before the comma, architects design buildings, we have one complete thought there. To check, you can always find your verb, find your subject, find your predicate. Then look at the other side. Their buildings can take years to complete. That is also complete thought. So you could find your verbs, put your line, underline your subject, underline your predicate. So we have two sentences combined by only comma. That makes it a run-on. Let's look at number 2. It says Lionel took the subway and then transferred to a bus. So we have Lionel as a subject, took as a verb, so we could put our line right here. Lionel's the only subject. We have and then we have two verbs. So that means we have a compound predicate. Took, transferred. It's only one sentence, and it's a simple sentence, so we leave that line blank. Number 3, the colors in his painting are quite striking. Our verb is are. We can put our line. It's talking about the colors, which is our subject. And it's saying what the colors are. So are is our predicate. Right here we have a simple sentence and it's a complete thought. So our blank is left blank. It's not a run-on. Go ahead and do 4 through 15 by yourself, then turn it into the basket. Make sure your paper has your name on it before you turn it in.